In this video, I will show you how to cut out the 10 holiday paper snowflake patterns that you can buy at papersnowflakeart.com. It's a PDF download, and so after you purchase the pack, you'll receive a PDF or a link to download a PDF. The cover is just here for show. When you download the PDF, you'll just get the black and white sheets so that it's a little easier on your printer to print out. And when you print them, you will choose, if you can choose in your settings, actual size. They're designed 8.5 by 11. So rather than fit to page to print, you want to print them as large as possible, and that will make the pattern as big on the page as possible. So they'll be a little bit easier to cut out. The patterns in this pack are Cupid Heart, Envelope Heart, a rainbow with a pot of gold, Easter bunny holding an Easter egg, a chick, jack-o'-lantern, pumpkin, bat, turkey, a gift, and a cupcake. There's a wide range of hole punch sizes used. So we go all the way from the 1/16 inch hand punch for the smallest holes. We also use the 1/8 inch punch for some of the eyes, and the 1/4 inch punch for the largest of the holes. So you'll need all three and a pair of scissors. When you're ready to do one of the patterns, you'll follow the directions at the bottom, and I'll show you how to do them in real time. You'll first start by folding across this middle hamburger fold, as my kids say. Then you'll see that there's numbers. 2 goes on top of 2. So that's going to fold up like that. I put a finger right down at the crease and then line it up perfectly. Press it nice and crisp. Then 3 will go on top of 3. So the same thing, it comes up and on top like that. They stack. And finally, 4 on top of 4, they come together. So line your edges up, make sure you have a nice sharp point. Sometimes I use my fingernail to kind of get that point really crisp. When you finish, just press down nice and hard on the edges so that they're flat. It'll make them a little bit easier to cut. And then you'll see there's this shaded pattern on one side. You can trim that extra paper off the top. And then you'll cut around the edges, cut away the gray, leave the white, and that's all you have to do. On our bat paper snowflake pattern, we'll use the 1/8 inch hand punch for the eye. The mouth is very thin. You're just kind of cutting the smallest strip that you can out. And then you'll have your little fang teeth come down from there. Then you'll cut around the bottom. And all of the outside edges. The connection point on the fold is right down here at the foot. So that's where you want to make sure you keep it connected. And here is your bat. The chick paper snowflake pattern has a few details that I'm going to point out before we start cutting. One is this middle section of the beak that is very thin. Another is this jagged edge of the egg, comes very close to the wing, and you want to make sure you don't cut through there. And then there's a couple little details up here that just help to shape the snowflake. So just be careful as you're cutting to not cut all the way through any of these areas. And when in doubt, just leave a little extra white space there. We'll start with the 1/8 inch hand punch for the eye. And then do the beak. So it's when you're cutting up like this that you just want to make sure you don't cut all the way through. For the part of the egg, I go along the top. See where I'm leaving it there? And then I come along the bottom. And come back up to your cut. So see how I'm leaving a little bit of extra space there? That's so that I don't cut through all the way. So you'll still get your jagged edge, but you won't slice through the end. Then we'll do the little floof on top. So I kind of come around like the cheek area and let's get this paper out of the way. Then we can add this little detail in right there. And it's just a tiny little cut. It's just to kind of give it a little extra flair. One easy way to do the wings is to come down around like this. Again, you're watching that cut right there. When this paper is out of the way, you can snip this area out a little easier. And then the bottom. The Cupcake Paper Snowflake pattern is perfect for Valentine's Day, but also nice for birthdays or anniversaries or other festive times of the year. It's fairly delicate because it's very thin along the bottom where the cupcake wrapper would be. And the only point of connection is right here along the fold on this side. So you want to make sure that you don't snip all the way through there, especially as you come around to come up here and cut this gray part out. So when in doubt, leave a little bit of extra white there. All you need is a pair of scissors. We're going to start at the top with the heart. And for the frosting areas, you can, sometimes I cut along the top, and then rather than going down and around that corner, I just kind of curve up to meet it at the top. Sometimes that's a little bit easier than going down and around. It just depends on how you like to cut. You'll want to make sure that you leave a little space between your cut and the side there, so I'm getting pretty close. I'll need to give it a little space when I come around. So since this becomes a little less stable when I cut the bottom out, I'm actually going to cut this out first, then come to cut the bottom and then trim it up around the end. The more cuts you make, the more that the paper likes to slide around, or you might get your scissors tangled in it. So since I'm a little worried about how thin this is, I'm going to do the bottom to come up here first so that I can kind of keep an eye on where these edges are. I'm going to give myself a little bit of extra space at the corner, and I'm going to hold the paper tight. See, it likes to move. Then I'll come across the top here to meet up with that cut and hopefully avoid cutting through. You can see I left a little bit of extra gray there. That just helps me feel like this will be thicker and a little bit more stable. Okay. Here's our Cupid Heart snowflake. It uses the 1/16 inch hand punch for the eye, and it's one of the trickier snowflakes because we have a lot of detail in here to cut away without cutting all the way through. We'll start with the eye. The nose is just a tiny little cut. It doesn't need to be super thick. Just enough to show detail. Same thing with the mouth. And then to trim out these details, I start with this area around the head, and then I add on. So rather than cutting all the way around the outside, just chip away at it by cutting a little bit at a time. And then the hand detail is down here, like Cupid is kind of holding the top of the heart. So it's a little easier to do that first and then come up and around. When you do the hair, just make sure if you've cut a little extra here to give yourself some room so you don't snip all the way through. Paper likes to move on the curves. When you start to twist it and curve, it likes to spread out in the back of where you're holding it, with the back of the fold. So just be careful. Yeah. Now we'll do the center of this heart. And around the edge. Make sure that these little pieces haven't folded up when you start to cut. I just felt one against my fingers, almost snipped it. So you could, see, there it goes again. Pinch it and hold it in place so that when you cut down around here, it won't fold into the cutting path. So as you can tell, this is one of the more complicated patterns in the set, but it's worth it because it's pretty cute and it will surprise people when you show them what you've done. Our Easter Bunny Paper Snowflake pattern uses the 1/16 punch for the eye. Or if you wanted to do the 1/8 punch for a larger eye, you could do that too. I'm going to use the 1/8 punch up here for the ear, just to get me started in this, to cut out that ear. So we'll start there. And use your scissors to kind of come down. You want to watch this part that's kind of close to the seam there, the fold, so that you don't snip all the way through. And then you'll come back up the other side. And if you want to, you can tidy it up a little bit. Then we'll do the nose and the mouth. On the Easter egg that he's holding, you just want to make sure that you keep this line here and here. They connect all the way to the seam, so you're not going to cut through that white that's against the fold. That helps give the egg a little bit of dimension. If you don't have the lines there, it kind of looks like he's holding, and he just has like a big circular belly. There's a little bit of a triangle down here to shape the leg and the foot. And then give yourself some space around where you cut out the inside of the ear so that you don't cut through. And then you'll come down around the whole thing. The only place where this snowflake connects to the other fold to hold the whole thing together is the foot. So you need to make sure that connects to the folded side so that your bunnies don't come apart. If you open it up and you want to clean up your ear parts up here, you can do that. It's a little bit easier if you unfold it once because then you're only cutting through 6 layers of paper instead of 12. So you can get the details maybe a little bit better. It doesn't have to be perfect. There we go. The envelope heart snowflake is pretty straightforward. We'll start with the heart part. And then this detail up here helps it to look like the heart is popping out of an envelope. When you cut here, you're watching that edge of the fold. This is the only part where the snowflake connects to each other. The design connects to each other. So don't cut all the way through the fold, or if you think that you're getting kind of close to your innermost layer, give it a little extra space. This is another design that it's perfect for Valentine's Day, but you can use it for other things year round. For the gift paper snowflake pattern, you just need a pair of scissors. And one thing that I'd like to point out is that there's a very thin gray line here. So we're going to cut that out. That gives shape to the front of the box. And then just be careful as you cut here that you don't come all the way to the corner. So let's start with this really thin line down here. And then we'll come up here to do the bow. It can be helpful to just get some of that paper out of the way. And then you'll come cut here. Down to the ends of the ribbon. Be careful as you cut this piece that you don't go all the way through. And then you just need to cut around the outside. The pumpkin paper snowflake pattern uses a 1/4 inch hand punch for the eye. Then you'll come in to cut the nose right along the seam and the jack-o'-lantern mouth. If you cut down a little farther, sometimes it can help you go around the corner and then back up. So you come up a little extra, then over, so that you can get down without having to twist the paper too much. Check your fold for where your stem is and just make sure that it's wide enough that your paper on the inside won't have a teeny tiny or non-existent stem. So you just want to make sure you've at least got maybe like 1/8 of an inch there. And then you come around. You want to keep part of this fold here, that's how they stay together. And come back around here. And here is our pumpkin snowflake. Our rainbow and pot of gold paper snowflake pattern uses the 1/16 inch hand punch to do the gold pieces down here. If you don't have a 1/16 inch hand punch, you can try it with the 1/8 inch, but you would just obviously do less gold. After you cut out the gold pieces, you'll do right here this edging along the top of the pot, making sure that you're not too close to the edge, and then you will cut along these narrow strips. So keep them as thin as you can and watch your ends down here. So I kind of come to a point, and then as I come down on this one, I try to match, go right exactly up to that point, not farther. That way I know exactly where they end and I don't have any stray cuts that might cut one of these rainbow beams off. This is another one because you're cutting on the curve and there's a lot of snips, a lot of space here. The paper might start to twist and you may want to flatten it out between cuts. So just kind of go slow. And they don't need to be super thick. They're really just there to separate what would be the colors of the rainbow. In our family, we like to color these when we're done. So you're just kind of separating the pieces of paper so that if you do decide to color them, or even if not, you can tell where the colors would be on the rainbow. And then we've got one more here. You can see when the paper starts to slide and twist, you might get differences in the size of the paper from front to back. So the back piece of paper may be a little bit wider or narrower than the front, which is why we try to pinch it and hold on to it. Especially since the front and back of this will be the same part of the rainbow. I'll show you what I mean. So if this on the back is wider than the front, they're the same bow. So you just want to make sure that from front to back you're as even as possible. This is separated here. There's a little bit of gray, so you'll come around the bottom of the pot of gold, watching to not cut through here, and then you'll turn the corner to come up on your rainbow. So here it is. And when we unfold, you will see the rainbow. And when we unfold again, you'll see the pot of gold. And if you wanted to color, you could color them, or you could use a gold marker or gold paint on the gold sections. Or you could just put it up exactly as it is. The turkey paper snowflake pattern uses a 1/8 inch hand punch for the eye. Then with your scissors, you'll trim out the turkey beak and around this detail around the head. So as you go around the curve, hold it tight, and then that just gives, so you can tell where the head is. Then we'll come around the edge. The place where it connects is right here. That's where it meets the fold. So you want to leave that. If it's easier for you, if it's easier, you can cut out this extra paper here, so that when you come to do the feathers, you're just coming in on a little bit here rather than cutting all that paper out. This is another snowflake that's fun to color. When you're done, you could make it the same. All 6 of the turkeys could have the same colors. You can make each one different. Down here we have just a little tiny extra feather. To give the body a little shape. This is where we're keeping that white right up against the fold, and then you come right around the bottom. Let's play Guess That Snowflake Holiday Edition. Thank you for following along and cutting out these paper snowflakes with me. If you like this pattern pack, you can find the whole thing at papersnowflakeart.com. And please subscribe and share this video.